Okay, folks, we are on coat number 5 of Tru-Oil. I've been sanding between coats using this gray Scotch-Brite pad. Now, the advantage of this over the steel wool is that it doesn't leave little metallic fragments all over the place. But it still does a great job of scuffing up the surface to get it ready to level it and get it ready for the next coat. And this actually also helps get rid of any little bumps and dust nibs and little hairs or whatever that might have gotten stuck on the previous coat. So the idea here is to basically go with the grain and sand it to a dull finish. Basically get rid of all the shininess. Right now it's pretty shiny. Let's see if I can get some good light. Yeah. There we go. But there's still, imperfections, streaks and stuff like that. So the idea is to keep doing this as I apply more layers to level it out, clean it up. And then by the time we get to the final layer of Tru-Oil, it'll be thinned out with mineral spirits. So it goes on nice and even and do very, very light. And that should be the final coat. But this is coat number 5 that I am about to sand. Here we go. Now you can use a light to kind of shine on it to see the areas that you might have missed. Basically, I'm trying to get it to a dull shine. Not a shine, but just to a satin kind of finish all over the place, getting rid of any shininess. And you can tell, you see the streaks here? That's likely from a previous coat that was not leveled very well. But we can match it all up now. So. So I have to be careful here on the semi-hollow part here. The wood's very thin and I don't want to get snagged on any corners, break anything. So I will sand very carefully in this area. What I want to do actually is clean off all this dust As you can see, if I go like that, it leaves a mark because there's all this Tru-Oil dust that I just sanded up. So one easy way is to use a little bit of cloth with some mineral spirits on it, and it should come right up. But you could also just wipe it down with a cloth or a blower or something like that. I'm just going to use a little tiny piece of rag here, soaked with some mineral spirits. You'll see the color come back just briefly. All right, that should do it. So when that dries, I'll go ahead and put on another coat of Tru-Oil.
One eternity later.
So I've been having a hard time with the top, finishing the top with the Tru-Oil. Apparently I was putting on very thick layers because they kept collecting so much dust that I would get little bumps in the finish that I'd have to sand off all the time. And it got so bad that I ended up sanding practically everything off, all the multiple layers of Tru-Oil that I had on there. But finally what I started doing was actually just using a shop towel balled up like this. I taped the end so that it wouldn't open up. Dipped in the Tru-Oil mixed with mineral spirits, and then literally just rubbing it in and making sure I go with the grain. Although not all the time. Sometimes I would go in circles just for coverage, but I would always end up going with the grain for the final passes. The good thing about using a shop towel is that it's absorbent, so you can actually spread it on and it absorbs a little bit while you wipe it on, and that leaves a much thinner coat. So I built up probably an additional 8 coats or so, and then actually just polished it. So it's actually looking fairly decent. I mean, it's not 100% a mirror shine, but it's close, as you can see. And there's very few actual surface imperfections like all the bumps I was getting before. There's a few. I mean, it's not perfect, but I think this is good enough. I don't think I'm going to get a very, very, very mirror-like shine on it, which is fine. I think this is shiny enough. So I'm going to keep it like this for a few days and see what I think about it. But I think I might be calling this done. And then I'll have to work some more on cleaning up all the sides, the back. I've got Tru-Oil spilled all over the edges here, so I got to do a lot of sanding and then do some more scraping of the binding. But generally, I'm pretty pleased with how this finish is coming out now. And it was tough. But you learn lessons. And I learned go really thin. I was using these foam brushes originally, and the problem with the foam brushes is that they leave little bubbles, and the bubbles can actually harden that way. And I wasn't really thinking that would happen, but it happened a lot. So from now on, if I do any more coats or for any other guitar, I'm going to use shop towels. Or if I can find a really decent lint-free cloth, that would help too. But thin, you have to go thin with the Tru-Oil. Otherwise, you're just asking for trouble. A thinner coat will allow you to actually have the coats dry much faster. And when they dry faster, then you don't get as many little dust nibs sticking to the surface. If it's way too thick a coat, it's going to take a much longer time to dry, and that allows anything in the room, any dust floating around, to stick to the surface. And then when it dries completely, you've got just little bumps everywhere that you have to sand off. So lesson learned, go thin, go very, very thin with Tru-Oil. Okay, so that's the update so far, and I'm pretty happy with how it's coming out. All right, so I took all the masking tape off the sides because I'm pretty much done with the Tru-Oil coats, and I'm just letting it cure now so that I can polish it, get it all shiny. So I took off all the tape from around the sides here, and as you can see, a lot of it leaked into the binding here, and also down here in the wood, but that's fine. I'm going to sand all this, so that's not a problem. The binding itself, I basically have to go around and scrape off all the dye painstakingly all around the binding, just to get it absolutely perfect. I'm not going to show you guys all that because that is quite the job here that I have ahead of me. So yeah, I just have to do some cleanup.
One eternity later.
Well, I'm partially through the scraping of the binding, and it's looking pretty clean in some parts. I mean, I haven't gone all the way through. There's still a lot to do here, but it's going to look pretty clean, and this top will get polished, buffed, so it'll be nice and shiny and not streaky, hopefully. But yeah, we're making progress.